Thank you so much for coming. We want to say thank you to Cam, Departed Souls, Steve from TNV Clothing, Jorge Martinez from the Exchange, and of course all the Red Bull fans that are here. I just want you to put your hands together one more time for Cam Harper. Let's go. Cam, first of all, thank you. How you feeling? Seeing all these fans coming out for you today?
Yeah, it feels good. It's good to be here. Maybe one of the first in-person kind of a podcast, so I'm happy to be a part of it. And then also thank you to all you guys. All your guys' support. Really appreciate it. And yeah, hopefully it's a good podcast. We can just kind of talk about all sorts.
Yes, and well, one of the first things we want to start is just your beginnings. Obviously, your parents are from Scotland. Just talk to me about how they were an influence for you to find a passion for this game, how everything started.
Yeah, both my parents are from Glasgow, and half the family is Celtic supporters, and then half of them are raised Rangers supporters. So there was always a big kind of soccer culture in my family as soon as I was born. And so when I was young, kind of being raised in SoCal, most kids are playing multiple sports. There are different seasons, there's different sports that are being played, but that was never really kind of how I was. Sometimes in school, I'll play some basketball with my buddies, but for the most part, it was always soccer. So growing up, it was always kind of in my DNA. Me and my dad would go down to the park since I was 3, 4, 5 years old and just kind of kick the ball around, have some fun, enjoy it. And I think as I grew older, they became an even bigger influence because they were able to kind of give me guidance and kind of tell me, enjoy your life. SoCal's a nice place to live. Enjoy the weather, but also remain focused for soccer because at the end, this is going to give you a better life in the future if it pans out. If it doesn't, okay. But they set me up very well.
And can you talk to us? Are you a Celtic fan, Rangers fan?
Yeah, definitely. The green and white, half of Glasgow. My mom's side coming from Rangers family. I kind of understand their feeling. They're more from the south end of Glasgow, so they have ties to Rangers. But I've always been a Celtic supporter, and I was able to get my mom to the other side. So we're a big Celtic family.
That's awesome. Do you remember your first live game watching them play?
Watching Celtic play. No, my first ever game I watched was Liverpool-Chelsea game. So I remember growing up and also liking Fernando Torres, so that kind of gave me a little bit of support for Liverpool. But my first ever Celtic game I attended was probably in 2011. It was a friendly between Inter Milan and Celtic at Celtic Park. And I remember there was a little Brazilian guy playing for Inter Milan that day, and it ended up being Felipe Coutinho. So that was cool to see, to be able to see him before he popped off. But probably around 2009, 10, 11, when I was able to start really following Celtic was when I kind of started to develop a love for them.
What was the level like when you arrived in Scotland? You're coming from SoCal with playing, locally. Was it a big step leaving the States and going over there?
Yeah, I think the main difference was also a big mindset change. I played for a team called Paddy Doris in SoCal, and we were a really good team. I played with Frankie Amaya, that you guys probably know. So me and Frankie were really close when we played, and it was a great team with a lot of really good players. Boys from LA and from San Diego would kind of come up and travel a few hours. So we had some guys who were good players. But then when I moved to Scotland, it was a whole nother level of mindset, and I think you start to see that the potential in the next few years is a lot bigger than maybe staying in SoCal and just going to college. You start to see that there's maybe a pathway to having a really nice career, and so I was surprised by the mindset of the players and how it was not just a passion and something that they did because they wanted to, it was something that they seen also a huge opportunity, so it was very competitive. And when you have that competition every single day, it just kind of drives everyone to improve a lot.
Were you able to practice at all or train with the first team, or were you mainly with the second to go down?
So when I first got there, I was 16. When I was 15, I went on trial a few times, spent some time with the under 18s and the reserves. Never really got trained with the first team as a trialist. And then when I moved there at 16, started off with the under 18s, had a good first half of the season, and was able to train a few times with the reserves. And then going into my second season, moved up to the reserves. And, kind of continued my development and was continuing to do pretty well for myself. So got a few chances with the first team to train and be around the guys and understand that level. And I was taken back the first few days by just how athletic they were, their ability to, just their ability in general. I thought they were unbelievable. It was a shock to my system. And then going into my third year, my final year, we were going into the last year of my contract, and going into those final 6 months of me being there, I was up with the first team, due to performance and also due to maybe trying to, allow me to feel a part of the first team and hopefully get me to stay. And that was an amazing experience. Going up and seeing some of the guys I had been watching for years and being able to compete against them. They're no longer just guys I look up to. Like, these are my competition. And so I had to have a pretty quick mindset shift, and I was genuinely surprised at how well I was able to adapt to the training standard, and so I spent a few months up with them, and then obviously after 2.5 years, Red Bulls.
Was the weather affecting you at all? Being from SoCal and then going to
Yeah.
right? Is that when you started wearing long sleeves when you went to Scotland, right?
Yeah, that was definitely a culture change. I'd obviously spent some summers there in the past visiting family, and summers can be you can get to 70 degrees or so it's better than the winters. But yeah, that first winter was definitely it took a lot of getting used to, especially it would get dark around 3:30, 4 p.m. So you're coming home from training at 3:34 and it's pitch black outside, and you're almost stuck inside for the rest of the night. And so me and my mom who moved there was able to strengthen our bond, and we created a really, really close relationship when we were there, and we did a really good job of kind of looking out for one another and making sure that we were all mentally okay in the dark nights. And so winters weren't great, but I'm alive. So
We're happy to be in the Jersey area, right?
Jersey winters are also tough.
So speaking about international, was there ever a situation where a possibility of playing on the international team, on the national team, I should say, for either USA or Scotland? Was there ever a thought? And if you did, where would you lie? What's your passport look like?
So I kind of grew up in the U.S. youth system, and obviously had a few opportunities with the 16s and the 18s, and then going in towards the end of my first year and towards the end of 2018, I got an option to, the U.S. and Scotland had a camp at the exact same week. One of them was in Southern California. It was in Carson Stadium, and then the other was in Spain with Scotland. And obviously, we had a lot of conversations with the coaches and some of the academy directors about where my future was hopefully going to lie. And at the end, I picked the U.S. because being in Scotland, I still wanted to remain and have ties to my home, and also it being in California allowed me to probably see my family for a couple of days, so that also was a part of my thought process. But yeah, I ended up going to the U.S. and then as of now, I would obviously be open to both. I think personally, maybe my heart lies with the U.S., but being able to share, a big moment where if I can represent Scotland and my parents see that, and all my cousins and all my uncles, that would also, I'd be very content with an option like that as well.
Has Louis brought something up for you to go play for Scotland?
He just got his call up. I was, I would ask him, like, have you got a call? Because last year he was killing it. And I said, Lois, have you got a call?
Yeah, even just sneak me in the suitcase and maybe I can come as a trialist or something. But, I would be open for that.
No, you can play. I definitely think that you could be on Scotland's national team.
Yeah,
I
appreciate that. And I also honestly see a future possibly with the U.S. I know I've seen a lot of MLS guys who have been called up recently, and to have an option have an opportunity for either one of them, I think would be huge for my career, and even just it would reaffirm that I'm doing well right now.
Do you think that international coaches look down on the competition of the MLS? I asked a few players. I've gotten mixed signals. A lot of guys, like you've seen Thiago Almada, he's won the World Cup, left the MLS. You have, a couple of guys everywhere. Sandy just left. Do you think that other coaches look down on the competition in the MLS and are hesitant to bring our guys to play internationally?
Yeah, it's a good question, because I think there is a lot of people who are torn on that. What's the basis of MLS? And like you said, Thiago Almada goes to Leon, or to Botafogo and Leon, and he's doing well there. Santi Rodriguez obviously was a really good player in the league, and he's, got a good move to Brazil as well. So I think there's definitely a lot of players that are, as the league grows, the players are showing that, these guys can go off and go to better levels and do really well. And I think you see it in the MLS that it is growing. I mean, you watch like the US game a couple days ago, and they come up against some hard competition. And so maybe it doesn't go as well as you'd hope, but I think as you need to see what we have in these MLS guys. You need to see what their level is, and as the league grows, you also see more youth guys who are coming through in MLS, and they're able to compete at a younger age and then go off to a better level. So I think as the league begins to grow, more people will have more of a understanding where the level the players lie at. But yeah, right now, there is a lot of people believe the level, and I personally think the level is very good, and you see guys go off, but maybe there just needs to be more consistency.
My thing is, people always say like Messi's the GOAT, right? They're like, Messi's the GOAT. Everywhere he goes, he's won, but he hasn't been able to do it here. So that says a lot about the competition.
Messi is the GOAT for me.
Was that your idol growing up?
He was definitely one of them. Messi, like I said, I liked Fernando Torres growing up. I liked Henrik Larsson. I watched I remember when I was visiting Scotland, I think when I was 10 or 11 in 2012, I go to the Celtic Superstore and I got a 2.5 hour or maybe 3 hour video of all of Henrik Larsson's goals. And I watched all of it a few times and maybe tried to learn a few things. I'm still learning, so.
I had a couple of good goals here.
Yeah, not as many as him, but it's a journey. It's a journey. So yeah, Henrik Larsson, Torres, I like Suarez as well at Liverpool, and Messi definitely.
You touched on it a little bit earlier. You came to the Rebels in 2021 while playing 2 seasons with Celtic. What was that decision like for you? What excited you about coming to the Rebels?
Yeah, going into that final season at Celtic, I was kind of weighing up my options and trying to see what was best for my future, obviously. And went into it, and there was a lot of conflicting conversations I was having with my mom about where I think was best, where I was going to end up. I had a few options. To stay at Celtic, maybe go down to England, a few options in MLS. And at that time, you were hearing that at Red Bulls, there was a lot of young guys who were coming up and doing well. Caden, Talrada took me the jump a few years prior. You've seen the development of Aaron Long. You've seen the Supporters Shield wins a few years prior. So I think the club was headed in a good direction. I think I looked at that and remember thinking the project that at the time Kev Thelwell presented to me was one that was enticing and I was very interested in. And so yeah, we had a lot of conversations between me and my parents especially, and at the end we thought the way that they were able to develop players, being able to risk putting young guys out there and see what they've really got. Some teams aren't, willing to do that, and I thought at the end that was something that was really enticing to me and really interesting. And so at the end, that was one of the main aspects of why I pulled the trigger. And yeah, the being in New York also was exciting to me. I was living always in kind of suburbs, and to live in a city and to be able to have a new kind of lifestyle was also very interesting.
I mean, we see your teammates Chupa and Ema Love in New York City. They show pictures every day.
Yeah. I mean, I also look on their Instagram and stuff, and it looks as if they got a cool life out there. So I'm a little jealous. I wish I was as cool as those guys.
I was saying, have you been able to get out to the city or do any kind of like team bonding while you've been? I know it's kind of difficult mid-season. You guys are mainly training, but have you guys been able to get out as a team? I know you guys went for a walk in the park for that.
You can bring them all to the brewery.
Yeah, good show. I'll bring it up to the guys. I think the facility being out more towards East Hanover, Morristown, I think the guys are a bit more scattered out than maybe other teams in the league. Obviously you have like a Chupa who lives in the city, some of the guys live in JC, Hoboken, and then some of the guys who are way out in Morristown. So it is a little more difficult to kind of get full team outings. But when we do, especially after like a win, the guys like to come out to JC, Hoboken area as like kind of a medium meetup spot. And yeah, I think team bonding is really important for it, because at the end of the day, you spend a lot of time together, and it's easy to stick together in the easy moments when you guys are winning, but when the times are difficult, it's connection that you make off the field too, which kind of help on the field.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was kind of attesting to, because I see you and Chupo doing the gritty over there, and I'm like, when they get the time to coordinate that, maybe it was on the field, maybe in the locker room, but.
I know, I don't think anyone had me and Chupo doing the gritty on their bingo card,
No.
but if you did, congrats, you can cross it off. That was also something, sometimes I'll, make a fool of myself and dance around the locker room, and so I'm pretty sure Chupo's seen that, and I've seen him smiling and laughing a few times before the game, and so when he scored, he just told me to do the gritty, and I had no second thought. I was like, all right, well, if the DP says do the gritty, I gotta do the gritty. So yeah, it was. I've seen the video also. It's pretty funny actually.
That's cool.
So speaking of goals, celebrations, do you have one goal that sticks out for you in your career so far with the Rebel? One goal that's like, this is the one, like this is my favorite one. I go back, it's over. This is the one that I want to be played over and else.
Yeah, I think the New York City goal last year. Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty good. New York City goal was pretty good. Thank you. Yeah, well, that one was nice. That was a little bit of a hit and hope one. I saw it going towards the top corner, and I was like, kind of preparing my celebration already. He got a hand to it, and he almost saved it, but so yeah. And then the celebration after that is kind of for me a little bit iconic. I'd done it the week prior in DC.
1,000,000%.
And I kept it going in New York City, and then it's kind of trickled into this year.
Yeah. And you, like I told you off the mics and everything, like you've been playing amazing. You guys are all killing it right now. So with everything that's like kind of going on and off the breaks, how do you guys stay in the groove, stay competitive? Because you guys were turning a good notch before we went into this little like break before this week.
Yeah, I think especially in MLS, as you've seen, it's important to almost have a short memory when you look towards your past games. It's obviously good to think about all the good games you had, the 3 wins in a week. But if you look towards the week before that, we had 2, big away defeats. And so if we would have been super focused on those 2 defeats, could have affected those next 3 games. So I think you almost have to, give yourself a pat on the back, celebrate those 3 wins and how we've done so far this season, but you kind of have to turn the page. And especially, I think, when you look towards the amount of games we've played, 17 is the direct halfway mark. So we've now made a benchmark of 27 points, which you have so far. And usually, if you get to around 54 to the 60 mark, you put yourself in a good spot. And I think, we have that playoff record. Last year was obviously monumental and great that we're able to get out that first round, get to the final. Didn't end as we would have hoped for, but I think now the main aim is a home playoff tie, because I think everyone saw the atmosphere at that Columbus game at home, and our home record this year, 7-1-1, and I don't think that's a place anyone wants to play in the playoffs when they're playing against us. So I think that's kind of our goal towards the end of the season, is a top 4 spot.
What do you think changed for this year? We're undefeated almost at home, except for that one game against DC.
Yeah, I think it's, when I first came here, I remember someone who was very big into trying to make Red Bull Arena or Sports Illustrated Stadium a fortress was Sean Davis, and I remember he would always reiterate that. And I feel as if in the years past he maybe got a little bit away from that, but nonetheless it's super important where if you can have a really good home record, you put yourself in a good spot, because away games are always going to be difficult, because you've got such contrasting climates, different types of stadium, you have different surfaces in stadiums, so away games are difficult. So if you can make your home stadium a fortress, and then maybe go into a home playoff game or multiple home playoff games, like I just said, it puts you in a good stead.
I have to ask you about Sandro Shores, because with Raheem Edwards, he was kind of scared of giving me an answer. But what is he like, and what are some of the things that he has done right and what you've learned with him so far?
Yeah, I think him coming in last season, along with Emil, I think there was a change in mindset definitely towards the team. I think there was instantly higher standards for the club. And you've seen that bringing in the coach and bringing in Emil, and he's very kind of keeps the DNA of Red Bull. Like I was saying off camera with you, we want to be high energy and aggressive and put teams under pressure. But like I've seen a stat, we're 8th or 9th in possession this season, which is something that I think a lot of fans want to see is the more you have the ball, the more chances you can create and more enjoyable to watch. And he's the type of guy that, you want to run through a brick wall for him. And when things are going great, he's always very supportive. When things aren't going so great, he's going to tell you it's not great. He's going to let you know, improve it ASAP, or, there's going to be problems. So he's someone who, when things, or just throughout the course of the season, very level-headed, but is also very supportive of all the guys, and he knows the individual traits of everyone. And, especially for myself, I can say he's allowed me to kind of grow into the player this year that I am. And he's always been very positive and helpful of knowing my traits of my ability to be dynamic and go in behind and go 1v1, and he's always been very positive about me continuing those steps.
Do you feel the most comfortable on that right wing side? Are you able to use both feet? Is that why Sandro's kind of trusted you with that?
Yeah, growing up I was always a winger or a striker. I always liked to play further up the field. My first year didn't go as to plan here, and so going into my second year, I was almost as if I have to kind of try to earn a spot wherever I can. And so 2022 and 2023 was more as a wing back and a fullback. And obviously I was very happy just to be playing games, but then as you become more established in the team, I believe I helped the team by a lot more, and I'm the most effective when I'm higher up the field and able to create chances. And going into the offseason, that was also something I worked a lot on, was being able to use my left foot. And so I think there's a stat where I've scored 6 goals with my right and 4 with my left. And that's something I really tried to work on the last year or so, because it makes you more dangerous and it makes you more effective. And so the goals, the assists, that's what allows the coach to trust you playing further forward.
Cam, you're like a stat guy. You look into yourself. You know a lot of your own stats. That's odd. A lot of guys will play the humble card and they'll be like, oh, I don't really look at that. You're paying attention to your stuff, man.
I like to, the more you contribute, the better you're doing, and at the end of the day, the more goals or assists or whatever I'm scoring, the more our team is scoring. And at the end of the day, that means more wins. And so I think you see that sports in general are kind of going towards more of a data side of things. So yeah, I can keep up with my numbers.
That's great.
We know Red Bull's been kind of making some moves in the management, like Jürgen Klopp coming to be the head of sport. I know him and Sandro have a good relationship, and Jürgen got to visit the training facility. Did you get any time to speak with him? I know you're a Liverpool guy, so I didn't know.
Yeah, wait, you're a Liverpool guy?
Yeah, so after Celtics. After Celtics.
Up in Man United.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go over this over. Yeah, I remember him coming in for preseason, and obviously I was a little starstruck because, me and my mom, we love Jürgen Klopp, obviously because we're both Liverpool supporters too. And he spoke to us as a group, and for just everything he had to say, I was very kind of trying to be aware of everything, because words that come from a guy who's done something like that, you really want to take on board what he says, and to have something like that supporting you, I think gives you a lot of confidence, And so I was able to, I got a photo with him after, and I think it was maybe less so the types of things he was saying to us, and more just the fact that, like I said, he's now a part of this group. He's a part of Red Bull, and for him to take the time to show face and talk to us, I think showed the standards which, the club is heading towards.
Yeah, so it's more or less like his presence there just kind of helped give us a jolt in the beginning of the season.
Exactly, and his big smile and his big teeth, when he showed those, that was also, okay, this guy's the real deal.
So, Kev, I always see after the game, and on the road, anywhere, I always see you're always interacting with fans. Your car is always one of the last ones to pull out of that lot. You always have kids around your car. Did you ever have a moment like that with an athlete growing up? Because usually that would happen if you had something like that,
Yeah, I remember my first ever coach was actually Chris Klein, who played for the LA Galaxy in the US. And so I was, I kind of was around, and I was such a soccer nerd growing up. Like I said, I knew all the numbers. I would go home for my AYSO games, my recreational games, and I would just constantly refresh Google to see who had the most points, who'd won. So I've always been a fanatic for the sport, and yeah, growing up around, as Chris Klein as my coach, I remember I met actually Greg Berhalter after one of the LA Galaxy games. I got a shirt signed by him, and so he was someone that kind of influenced me a lot, definitely. And I think I'm always very appreciative of the position I'm in. I get to influence a lot of people's lives every weekend, and I remember being that 6-year-old, 8-year-old, 10-year-old who was looking up to
4-year-old.
No, yeah, but I will be soon. I remember being that young kid and seeing these kids, and being so excited when I see these professional players. And now, obviously, I'm in a position where I get to influence people's lives and maybe influence the next generation of players. So if I can make a few kids happy after the game, I mean, it doesn't take a lot for me to pull over, take a photo, sign a jersey. You know, these are things that might just be a little moment for me, but for a kid growing up, like, I bet you Greg doesn't remember me after the game. You know, I bet you he doesn't, but I still remember that moment.
You should ask him.
I will. After the Chicago game, I'll ask him for sure. But yeah, I just being able to have that influence over and to give people enjoyment is something that I never take for granted.
I have to ask you about influence and what has been the best advice that somebody has ever given to you?
Best advice I've ever been given. That's a good one. Yeah. So one of them was always when I was younger. I used to just dribble, and just try to do everything by myself. And I remember Chris Klein as my coach at a young age telling me to pick and choose my moments better. And then one thing that always stuck with me, and me and my dad talk about to this day, wasn't even soccer related. Obviously, he would, at the before I would go to school every day, my dad would say, "Don't let anyone piss you off," whether that be something they say, something they do, and I think that kind of stuck to me, especially in my career. As a big mental aspect of it is that, you're gonna have bad games. Fans are gonna get on your back. Coaches are gonna say things that you don't like. Other players are gonna say things you don't like, and it's just try not to let someone piss you off. Don't let this type of stuff affect you. I think as an athlete, you need to have, like I said earlier, almost like a memory of a goldfish. You need to be able to let things kind of go as soon as it happens. Someone says something you don't like, okay, whatever. That's in the past. And so I think that was a big thing I always remember my dad telling me before school, and it's definitely influenced me a lot.
What's the best advice you would give yourself or younger you, like where you are in your career now, unfortunately losing a final, but getting there? What's the best advice that you would give your younger self, knowing everything you know now?
Yeah, I think as a younger kid, and I think I did a really good job when I was younger, genuinely just enjoying the game, and my parents were always big on that. I remember I played when I was younger for LA Galaxy for a year, and then my mom took me out of the academy because there was too much pressure, too much politics going on, and my mom was like, "I'm too young to be under this much pressure," and so she always wanted me to enjoy the game. So I'd always just kind of reiterate to my younger self, enjoy, have fun, don't let the stress get to you. Just, I started playing this game because it was a decision I made. I wasn't forced into it. It was a decision I made. And so to be able to make a decision that you want to play the game every day is something that I've always tried to kind of keep in my brain.
He mentioned MLS Cup final. I just want to, again, a round of applause for helping us reach the final. Cameron Harper, we're so happy to make it to that final. What did it mean for you to represent the club in this final, starting in it?
Yeah, I think that whole playoff run was pretty surreal. Like I was talking to Steve off camera, I think a lot of people had the mindset going into that Columbus game that, Red Bulls would have won maybe 2 games the last 15. They're coming up against the previous winners. These guys are going to get ran over by Columbus. I think that was probably, I'm not sure, but was probably the mindset. And I think being able to take them down in 2 games, have Red Bull Arena jumping again, to have celebrate a moment like that, Eddie's penalty, to see the stadium like that, I think kind of reinvigorated the fans and allowed you guys to think, okay, well, maybe the last 4 years, first round exits, which no one wants to be a part of, and then you beat Columbus, and now you're in the second round, and then you're now in another final against New York City. So that was a final in itself, and to win that, and to have all you guys a part of that, jumping and I was singing in New York City.
We took over.
Yeah, you guys took over, and to be able to kind of create that moment and atmosphere, and then Orlando. Now you're going into a final against LA Galaxy, who I've always kind of seen as the big guys of MLS. They've always been around winning, and unfortunately, obviously, we didn't win. But to be a part of something like that and to have 2,200 fans?
2,500.
2,500 fans there, and to share an experience and to walk out on the field an hour and a half before the game and see that everyone was already in the stands jumping and celebrating, and singing at the LA Galaxy fans, I think was something I'm never going to forget. And obviously, we all would have liked a different outcome. I remember it was a tough week or so after the final, and being able to, or just trying to get over it and trying to accept that we hadn't won. But I think we created a lot of really special memories that are going to, live on. And hopefully, instead of thinking of it as, wow, we made the final, it's amazing, it's almost as if, okay, we've now set a standard for ourselves that we can get to the final. First time since I read it was like 2008. And
Yep.
so, we're capable of getting here. And we're able to not then go out and strengthen the team, sign Chupo and stuff like that. I think it creates standards that I think it was great for the club. Getting to that final, obviously, like I said, would have liked to have won it, but I think there's now a reinvigorated energy around the stadium, around the club that hopefully you guys feel too.
Yeah. And does Chupo's presence in the locker room and around the team help you guys get more confidence that if you get, into the playoffs again this year, we can make a similar run that we did last year?
Yeah, seeing Chupo come into the team, someone who's played at Bayern Munich, PSG, Bundesliga, Premier League, he comes in and he's a very nice, kind of a quiet guy, but very demanding on the field. You want to play well for these guys, and you want to help out, and you know that their ability on the field is top, and so it lifts everyone else, and it says, okay, we now have the bar has now been raised. We need to try to match it. I think we'd always kind of had strikers who are more in behind, quicker guys, and so maybe the first few weeks it was getting used to the new style of play. Chupo, someone who more drops in deep. And you now start to see that, as wingers, Lewis, when he gets back, so full. It makes it
So
tough.
And you guys are getting your
Yeah,
timing down too,
so
like that
great.
cross,
Yeah.
that cross against Nashville, right? That just Chupo headed in. So you guys are getting the timing down. I guess it helps to have a big striker, right?
Yeah, definitely. And as a wide guys, you want to create those connections with your strikers, and that's what I've tried to do. I've tried to look for. You want to look for Chupo. You want to look for Emil who's coming in the box. You want to look for your other wingers. As a forward, you want to help each other out and make life easier for each other.
But what was your best game as a Red Bull so far? You've had a lot. I think you said 100
You're
appearances.
over 100, right? If I'm not mistaken.
You looking for my stat?
Yeah, I get the real stat. We know you know.
I don't know how much exactly this is, but I know it's over 100. Because I remember my 100th was the Cincy game.
But do you think your best game was that game in Orlando to win the Eastern Conference? Because you got man of the match. I know you.
Yeah.
That was a pretty good one. I have good memories against who we're coming up against this weekend. Austin. Went to their stadium in 22 and got a goal and assist off the bench, which I was happy about. I think Atlanta this past weekend was a good one. I think I've had good games where maybe I've not scored or assisted, so it's kind of went under the radar. Like I remember I had some good games in 23 and last year that, like I said, went under the radar. But I would say Orlando is definitely my most memorable. And I remember, and I always say this is kind of what sums up our playoff run last year was there was a chance in like the 30-something minute, and Enrique gets past Shawnee, and you have Dill, his brother, backing him up. Dill's ready, he goes in for a tackle, Dill misses a tackle, and I'm there to back Dill up, and it kind of showed that camaraderie. And I think that individual performance I appreciated, but that whole game as a whole was honestly probably my favorite of my career so far.
I love that. Good. Very fun. Well, no, we were saying we'd love to see that extra effort, like making those tackles that, you're not responsible necessarily for it, but that shows that everyone seems to be buying into Sandro's message, right? But, I think that if we keep up the same thing, that there's no reason why Chupo and everybody else, we can't replicate what we did last year, but instead of winning it all this time.
And I think the fans so just back him up too. Everybody knows Sandro.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to like about him. I think he's obviously he gives everyone so much time too, and he always talks about trying to create an atmosphere not only for the players but for the fans too, and to create good moments for us. And I think this year it was so important for us, especially the lot of talk was on those 3 games we won, but the game before that, winning against Dallas on penalties and seeing AJ Marcucci have his moment. He's one of my good buddies, and it's been special. Sandro's given a lot of players opportunities this season, like Sofo, like Omar, AJ, and to see guys who I'm really close with. As players, we're always so happy to see new guys step up because it allows you to know that, okay, when someone comes in the team, they're going to be ready.
and that helps the locker room camaraderie too. It makes it feel like everybody's involved, nobody is getting overlooked, everyone's getting some minutes. So I think that's important to build this team up with all these different players because we're going to need everybody. We saw this last year, definitely.
So what's the I asked you this, I think after last game, like the level of practice, like the competition between you guys, like there obviously is a next man up mentality that has to be in place because of the scheduling. So what's the competition like for positions, stuff like that?
Yeah, definitely. I think you've seen it with these new guys, especially from the young boys. Like you see Omar last year train a lot of us, but he never really got an opportunity. And then you see Soto get an opportunity against Nashville, score in his first game, and now he's got quite a few goals this season. And so I think guys who maybe the fans maybe don't even know about right now are going to learn about guys in the next few months because in training it's always an opportunity to show the coach, wow, okay, you're ready. And I think having a style of play for us that's pretty, everyone knows how the Red Bulls play, and when you join the team, you quickly kind of need to learn how the Red Bulls play, and so it puts you in good stead that when you come up, you know your job. Sopo comes on, and he's more maybe a winger, he comes on as a striker, and he knows his job, press, get behind, and so I think being able to have that connection with our style of play allows when players in training are playing well, it allows the coach to have confidence in putting them in.
Cam, one of my last questions. Obviously, with everything you said about the development of young players, Chupo, yourself growing into this role, what is it going to take for this team to finally win MLS Cup?
Yeah,
You have to let him out. It's my last question.
There's a lot. Well, I
That's
mean,
it.
I think if last year didn't fill the fans with hope of that there's hopefully a cup coming, then I seen it last year in the playoffs that we leveled up last year. I think we kind of brought it into this year, and I think you've seen, like with our home record, teams were hard to beat. We have quality up top. You have guys scoring. It's not a case of where you have one guy scoring all the goals. You have Sobo stepping up. You have Chupo. You have Emil. You have myself. You're gonna have Lewis come back. There's so many guys who can step up in these moments. So I think being able to have multiple guys puts you in good stead where you go into a playoff game, hopefully everyone can create a moment like that. And so I think last year hopefully gives the fans some hope that there's going to be a cup coming soon. An MLS Cup, an Open Cup, a Leagues Cup. There's 3 opportunities now for a trophy this season, and the goal is to compete and win 3. And I think the fans would be happy with one of the 3. Like I myself would be too. I'd love to lift the trophy, but yeah, winning the MLS Cup is definitely the priority.
It's definitely a priority because unfortunately we haven't won an MLS Cup. We've won the league before, but obviously with this league, it doesn't always value it the same as winning a cup. So that's why we put so much pressure on you guys to win the cup because it's the only thing we haven't won.
Definitely, I don't think they value supporter shields enough, to be fair.
That's why. That should be the one.
Yeah.
That should be the one.
To perform well over 34 games to win a supporter shield is very impressive.
That should be the one. BWP recently said that the supporter shield should.
He would trade him, right? He said.
Oh yeah, he would, yeah. And that's the way it should be. I think at the end, the team that's on top is the team that was the best.
Yeah.
They Americanized it, and now you got a playoff, and now you got a best out of 3. It's a little reckless.
Yeah, there's a lot of toss-ups that can happen. There's a lot of luck that's involved too, and I think the supporter shield, for the most part, if you're the best team over the course of a season, that's very impressive, and I think that should be rewarded more. But yeah, in American sports, the big thing is to win the playoffs, to win the cup at the end of the season.
Yeah, I know you were over in Scotland, but do other players look at MLS like that? Like, oh, they don't value winning the league, or they don't have pro rel. I know USL just adopted it, or will adopt it in a few years. Do you think players will look into that? Maybe start looking at USL instead of MLS or something like that?
I think the USL have a long way to go before they catch up to MLS, especially when you look at the level and the quality. And I think you look at the Open Cup this year, and it was basically all MLS teams who won, right? And so, maybe foreigners and guys from other countries prefer the promotion relegation system, but as players in the league, as supporters of the team, you only have so much power in terms of where the league goes and all that. You kind of have to just leave that up to the higher ups and whatever direction they go. But I think it's understood that for the most part in American sports and American culture that, it's playoffs and that's kind of the way it's going to go, right?
So you're a stat guy. I wanted to ask you, Mount Rushmore of the Red Bull. Can you put 4 guys up there?
That was my question.
Okay.
I was thinking of that.
What are you thinking?
Well, number one, I've seen some clips. I would have liked to see more of him, but he was my under 20 national team coach, and I loved when I was able to play under him. So I'd go Tab Ramos. He's definitely on there. I would go a good friend of mine my first year who I know played very well when he's here. I'd say Daniel Royer.
Okay, I like that one. Got 2 more.
I'm going to go Luis
Yeah.
Robles.
Oh, okay.
And then I maybe have to go Thierry Henry. How can I not? How can I skip him? So I'll go.
Yeah.
I can't believe I skipped over him. Yeah, TT, Henry, Daniel Royer, and Luis Robles.
That's a solid 4. I like that.
So I think we are wrapping up. If I wanted to probably give the fans a chance to ask 2 or 3 questions, if anybody has a question to ask Cam.
If anyone has a question, I can give them the mic. If anyone has a question.
Right there, yeah.
So my question is, what do you think about Michael Bradley coming into coach Rebels 2?
That's a good question, Kevin. I think, obviously, it was sad to see Vito leave. Going back to Germany, it was sad to see him leave. But then you see Ibra come up, who everyone loves Ibra at the club, right? He's what a guy he is. So to see him come into the assistant, one of the assistants for the first team, opened up that spot. Announced Michael Bradley today. I think that's great to have someone who played so many games for the national team, played in Europe, played in MLS, knows the league, knows what it takes to play in the league and to lead an MLS team. Can only be good for the young boys coming up, and to be able to learn from someone who has done it at such a high level. I think he's going to immediately command respect, and he's going to know what it takes for these young guys to come up. And so I've heard from Raheem and some of the other guys that he holds incredibly high standards, which I think is important at a club, and takes his job very, very seriously. So I think it's going to be great for the young guys' development, and hopefully we can only continue to see that pathway of Rebel 2 to Rebel 1 grow. I think he'll be a big part of it the next few years.
Does anyone else have a question for Cam?
So the Leagues Cup is coming up, and the CONCACAF Champions League final just happened, and unfortunately an MLS team got lost very badly. I was just going to ask, do you think that Leagues Cup has to change to have games in Mexico for it to be a more serious competition? And if there was any spending rules that would have to change so that MLS can compete against the top teams in La Liga MX?
Yeah, obviously I seen that final in CONCACAF, and it obviously wasn't great for the MLS team, but to see, in the last few years you have seen MLS teams kind of get to the final, and I think MLS teams won it 2 times or so. You'd like to see them win obviously more. Like I said earlier with the playoff format, us as players don't have a say in where the game should be played, but I think it would be good to go to Mexico and play against Mexican teams, because I think you've seen that a lot of these teams are going down to Mexico and CONCACAF Champions League, and the environments are very hostile. It's a hard place to go and play. It's different. Sometimes you're playing at altitude. So personally, speaking for myself, I would enjoy going down to Mexico and having new experiences playing against. Imagine playing against Chivas, or imagine playing against Club America, or all these teams, Club Tijuana in Mexico. I think that would be great for MLS's development. And then, with the spending rules, like I said, I as a player don't have any power in changing that, but I think you're seeing year over year that the money is increasing, and you're seeing the new 3DP 322 or the 4 under 22 2DP kind of way they're going about it. So they're able to bring in more younger guys or spend more money on DPs. So I think the league are taking an approach where it's going to be more a process over time instead of a quick one. And so whatever the league decide, us as players, you just have to accept it.
We got another question for Cam here.
Yeah, Cam, just a quick one. Who's got the best supporters in the league?
The Rebels.
Yeah.
You don't see other fans in those in those playoff games out singing their rivals. You don't see 2,200 traveling 6 hours across the country, spending hard-earned cash. You know, us as players understand that it's a big sacrifice for all those 2,500 fans coming over. So, yeah, you guys are impressive. We appreciate you guys and coming out to every game.
You know, speaking of New York, New Jersey, briefly, any hype? Do you have any hype about the World Cup coming here? Club World Cup?
The Club World Cup, I mean, I can't say personally I'm not super
Not too many
interested.
people are. Not too many people.
No, because I don't think there's been a lot of talk about it. I don't see it a lot of places.
And you live here. It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's also there's so many games now to watch. I think you're seeing more games in the Champions League. You're seeing the Conference League that's been added. There's so many games to follow that it's hard to follow all the games year round, especially kind of being involved in my own games. It's hard to follow all of them. So yeah, I kind of, as I've gotten older, stick to more watching Celtic, watching Liverpool, and kind of having a smaller circle of games I'm watching. But it is exciting seeing the MLS teams in the Club World Cup, and you know I'm rooting for all the fellow MLS teams to do well.
We got one more question for Cam.
Hey Cam, first time, long time. Real quick, we're a year out from the World Cup. Do you think that Scotland's going to qualify for this expanded format?
Yeah, it's always tough. You know, as a team in Europe, you know, you're competing against a lot of good teams, and you know, one win. I think they lost to Iceland last week, and then they won the last game, and so. You know, I'm hopeful it will be the first World Cup that Scotland have qualified since 1998. So I've never been able to watch them in a World Cup. And my mom's also supporting them well. My dad's supporting them well. So it's always tough when you're in Europe because there's so many good teams and only a few teams are allowed to make it. So I'm always hopeful. I'm always supporting them. I'm always going to hope that they make it. It's going to be tough. Is there expectation that they make it? You know, maybe not. But you know, I'm always going to support them, always going to be supportive of them, and so it would be really nice to see them and maybe hopefully go to a game when they're here. But if not, then it'll be the next one. It's been a long time. I've never got to see it, so it'll just be a little longer. I'll have to wait.
Does anyone else have a question for Cam? Last round? Yeah, all right, here we go. One more. The owner.
I just saw on Instagram that the Edmonton Oilers are playing Pink Pony Club in their locker room every time they win. Is there a song that is popular in the Red Bulls locker room?
What?
Great
That we
That's
should
a
all be
great
like, maybe we can learn the chant or something.
Yeah, I'll have to come back to you because there is a song. I don't know the name of it, but Emil introduces to it, and I can't even tell you how it goes. But that's gonna be something that honestly, I wasn't
Is it in
super.
Swedish?
It's not
I wasn't super aware of it. You know, I'd hear it and I never thought a lot of it. But you know, if the fans are thinking about it, then maybe I should pay a bit more attention to it. So I'll have to get back to you guys on that one.
Awesome.
We'll be following along.
Yeah, please let us know, you know, in the media whenever you have that song, or just do the dance. We got one more question? We got another question? Yeah, of course.
Hey Cam, so you've been here for a while now, and you see a lot of emerging talents like Mohamed, Omar, Julian Hall. Do you see yourself as more of a veteran presence in the locker room now to help those guys?
You know, I asked you that too. You're only like 20-something years old. You were like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
young to get that, right?
Yeah. You can imagine that after the Atlantic game, maybe.
Yeah, I think I forgot what I asked you.
Yeah, also I'm only 23 years old, so I'm still young in my career, but as someone who, I think you kind of see historically in the Red Bulls, there's been a lot of turnover, so I'm probably one of the longest serving guys in the team right now, which is actually pretty funny. But yeah, there's probably some more guys who, as a personality, are more leaders with their voice and all that, but you know, like I said in a interview, I think, a few months ago, if any of the young guys ever come up to me and want input or need any advice, I'll always give them time. I always like to help young guys because as a young guy, that's what I would have appreciated. And if I was in their spot, you know, some guy was giving me information that had played more games than myself, you know, I think it's worth it. You know, experience is something that you only get as you continue your career. So if I can help out any of the younger guys, yeah. So I do see myself as more of a veteran, one of the older guys. But I think you've seen a lot of you've seen like Daniel Edelman step up. So I think we as the youngish guys who maybe aren't the super young guys are feeling more responsibility on our shoulders and hopefully want to help progress the club in the next few years and see where it goes.
That's great. Perfect. Well, Cam, thank you so much for coming on and meeting all the fans. Thank you.
Thank you guys. I appreciate you guys coming. Yeah, it was fun.
I hope you enjoyed it. We're gonna do a raffle. We're gonna pick the numbers. All right. So
All right.
they don't yell at us. We don't put our hands in it. So where's the hat?
It's over there, right next to
Okay, over there.
We actually, that's one of the giveaways. too,
What's
so we're
what's the reward?
Oh, we're giving out one hat.
2 hats, a jersey, and some tickets to a game.
Poster.
Poster. My bad. I didn't mean to tease that.
No, that's true. Yeah.
Jumpy will personally buy you. You can be his assistant.
Oh wait, I don't think I gave.
You got extras?
Yeah, Rose needs. Rose needs. Oh, sorry, my fault.
Right, do I repick? Do you want me to repick or do you want me to keep this?
Hat.
Yeah, repick. Repick,
Oh,
okay. Well, sorry, number 9. Whoever is number 9, sorry.
Number 9.
No, he's repicking, he's repicking.
Oh, okay, perfect. Next.
Steve, move it upside down.
Steve, get a double guy. Get a double guy.
That's 9. Let's see.
That's a 9.
That's a nine.
Wow.
He went. There you go.
Oh.
I don't know.
Yes, come on.
That's a
Hang on. All right, that's a 9. All right. You got a nice rebel hat.
There you go, baby.
Alright, 2 more. We gotta pick 2 more numbers. 27?
27.
Anyone got 27? If not, we go to the next number.
Next one.
Going out once, twice. Nothing. Let's see.
Number 7.
Hey, oh, we got a winner here. Down in front.
Look at that.
Damn.
There you go. With a nice black jersey. Your white shirt.
And then we're gonna give out the poster.
And this is for the poster, Eastern Conference Champions
Okay,
poster.
Cam Harper lifting the Eastern Conference trophy.
There we go.
If you don't like me, no, I'm sorry. I'll get you a full team one if you don't like me. Number 13.
Number 13.
Number 13.
Oh, there we go.
Wait, there's 2 number 13s. Hold on. Are they?
473013.
Oh no, the one in the back. Oh, fuck.
There should be a number on the back.
All right.
You are. There we go.
Give it up one more time.
There we go.
Nice.
What?
He's ranking you bought.
Party.
Oh, empty cans. Don't worry. Southward beers sold here, brewed here by departed souls.
Yes. Awesome. All right. And the big one, the jacket. Who's gonna win the jacket? All right.
A little drum roll.
That's what, this is the black.
Oh, lower numbers. Number 8.
Number 8. Number 8.
Go
Oh.
Going twice.
That's it, deuces.
All right.
That's
Next
out.
one. He went to the bathroom, man.
Alright, we got number 20.
Number 20. Still, we keep going.
All right. Twice, 3 times.
All
No.
right. This one in.
Number 5.
Game on.
Number 5.
Number 5's gotta be
Oh,
here.
right there.
We got number
Oh,
5.
we got number 5. Yeah.